Alien sightings are pretty common, but a lot of them don't tend to interest me very much. However, there is one particular alien sighting that I find pretty fascinating, regardless of whether or not it's fake. The alien/cryptid I'm going to be discussing has been dubbed the Fresno Nightcrawler. Back in 2007, a paranormal investigator received a call from a television network called Univision. They were calling because a man named Jose, in Fresno, California, brought in some unsettling video footage that he obtained the previous night. During the interview, Jose said that he had a surveillance camera set up in his front yard because on a previous occasion, someone tried to steal something from him. The man woke up late at night by his dogs barking strangely, and when he looked over at his surveillance monitor, this is what he saw. Three months later, the paranormal investigator received a call from Jose for a follow-up, in which he went to take a look at the area where the Nightcrawler was spotted. Since the footage of the Nightcrawler surfaced, there's been a lot of research done on it. As you can see from the video, the Nightcrawler appears to be a very thin humanoid that is about 4 feet tall and lacks a torso or arms. According to some Native Americans around the area, Nightcrawlers have been around for a while, and originally come from a planet that is mostly swampland, which their long legs supposedly help them maneuver through. The Native Americans say these creatures are friendly and are on Earth in order to help humans awaken and eventually create peace and harmony. How much of this is true is unknown, but I do know there have been 2 supposed sightings of this. One would be the sighting from Jose, and the other sighting can be seen in this video. This video also shows 2 creatures, just like in the last video, but this video has not been confirmed real or anything like that. This cryptid also got a lot of attention from a TV show called Fact or Faked, in which they actually decided to investigate this and find out if it was real or not. In the episode of the show where they featured this, they decided to see if it was a hoax by attempting to see if they could somehow recreate it. First, they went over to Jose's house and set up their own cameras at about the same area where Jose's surveillance camera was. Then they dressed up a little kid in white and got him to walk along the same path as the Nightcrawler did to see how similar this would look. They concluded that whatever was in the original video was definitely not a person, since in their video it was very obvious what they were seeing was a kid. After this, they set up a mechanical puppet on a pulley and made it walk across the yard. Not only did this not really look like the original Nightcrawler video, but the movements weren't nearly as fluid as they were in the original video. Next, they put a cloth over the puppet and tried again. This looked a little more similar to the original video, but the movement still swayed way too much and it just didn't look right. Finally, they had one of the crew members hold the puppet on a stick and walk the puppet across the yard himself, with the intention of editing himself out later on. Once again, the movements here didn't look nearly as fluid as they did in the original. It was at this point that they concluded it was most likely not a puppet. In a final attempt to figure out what this might have been, they decided to head out to the woods near the area to see if there was some type of animal or something in the area that made its way through his yard. While they were out in the woods, a lot of their electronics began to malfunction for an unknown reason, and eventually, they decided to use a thermal camera to see if anything was around. With the thermal camera, they spotted these 2 unidentified entities walking away in the woods and then disappearing from sight. When the crew went to follow, they saw the ground in that direction was disturbed, and the tracks led to a pond. After they analyzed all the evidence, they came to the conclusion that the Nightcrawler video was unexplainable. This whole thing is pretty mysterious in my opinion, and if it is a hoax, then I think it was done pretty well, but I want to give my 2 cents on this. I find Jose's story to be a little strange. He says that he woke up late at night to his dogs barking, and then used a separate camera to record the aliens on his surveillance monitor. There's one thing that doesn't make sense to me about this. As you can see here, the recording starts a considerable amount of time before the Nightcrawlers appear on the screen. So why was he recording the screen if he didn't even know what was about to happen? That doesn't really add up. And if you just rewound the surveillance footage to go back and start recording, that makes even less sense. Why would he record the screen with the camera if the surveillance camera had already had it recorded? I also want to address the investigation that took place on Fact or Faked. Whereas I think they did a great job, I feel like there were still some aspects that may have been a bit flawed. First of all, when they set up their camera at Jose's house to try to replicate what happened, they kind of just ignored the fact that the camera they used to recorded in much better quality than Jose's camera, which might have been why some of their stuff didn't look authentic enough. I feel like the only way to make the experiment really work would have been to use the same camera that Jose used. What I really thought was interesting, however, was when the crew spotted 2 creatures in the woods. It is possible that these were Nightcrawlers, since there were 2 of them, just like there were 2 Nightcrawlers in the original footage. But then again, these creatures they saw might have also been deer or some other type of animal. There really isn't enough evidence to make a solid conclusion about what they saw. The Nightcrawler is definitely pretty intriguing, and I'll admit that the videos I've seen of it are impressive, but unfortunately, like a lot of hoaxes, the video is way too low quality to truly make out what was being seen in the video. So, I don't think we can make any conclusions about whether or not this thing is real without any more evidence. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side.